Sorry about that. My name is Aineviona Marion, and I do thank you, honorable members of the 5th East African Parliament, for entrusting me with your mandate to present as a honorable speaker of this session. And I would wish us to follow orders, the delegated deliberations, and let us make use of the 5th East African Youth Parliament. We need to do the needful. We can now have our seats. We are to proceed with the session, and we are moving to motion number 4. Which is motion for a resolution of the East African Youth Parliament urging that diaspora's contribution to the community growth. And the move of that motion is Honorable Paulo Siniga. You're welcome.
Honorable Speaker, thank you for entrusting me with this precious moment to move this important motion in the development of our East African community. Honorable members of Parliament, I stand before you
Recording
to
in
move
progress.
a motion for the resolution of the East African Youth Parliament urging the diaspora's contribution to community growth. Now, when we think about diaspora's contribution to our East African region, there's a lot that we can say. And there's a number of quite important key issues that the diaspora have contributed over decades to ensure that we as East Africans are moving forward. Because at the end of the day, the sons and daughters of Africa abroad, we cannot neglect them. They are still part of who we are. They are still our families and cousins and friends, our husbands and wives, and also they are still sons of Africa. And I think there's an important role that the diaspora plays in terms of accelerating the East African economic growth and sustainable development. So I urge you, members of Parliament, to support this motion and contribute highly and effectively. And we look at various ways of how we can incorporate diaspora to enrich our region. One of the key aspects that I wanted us to look at also was the remittance, how diasporas have managed to contribute through remittance in terms of what they bring back home, and not just remittance, but also skills and support. We know that a lot of diasporas have expert knowledge in various fields, such as healthcare, climate change, and so forth. How can we tap and leverage into that? The power of diaspora in increasing and accelerating the development of our region. So, honorable members, I request your support, and I hope we will have successful deliberations. Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Okay, thank you too. We need a seconder. Someone second the motion.
The man is determined.
Thank you all. My name is Mkane Zanjerik from Rwanda. I second that motion. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, thank you, Honorable. Now I think we are going to discuss the motion, and I urge you, honorable members, that we should keep time. We are going to do 30 minutes, and each side, like this is the left side, this is the right side, we are going to have 3 members that are going to contribute, and this side there are going to be 3. We try to manage time. Yes.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
and the team that has moved this motion. It seems to be a very good motion. However, I would think, before we think of collecting from our people who are in diaspora, as a East African community, there are things we have to first think of. One, as a community, we should urge our member states to build the strong and resilient economic avenues that can be in better position to accommodate our people, that can be in a position to avail job opportunities to our young people, instead of thinking of sending and losing the labor force to the outside countries. Because the labor force we are losing...
Honorable Speaker, point of information. Honorable Member, this bill is not only meant to look at the negative aspect of the diaspora. It is beneficially meant to tap into the power and leverage the diaspora that are bringing opportunities back home. Our aim was not to take from them, but to see how we can collaborate with them from that aspect. So I would beg you to refrain and rephrase your statement, because in no way would we want to present something that is taking away from our people, but rather than adding value. So when you speak about issues that we are trying to build, we are trying to take away from them, I think you're going out of context, and I think you need to, Honorable Speaker, I would beg your House to rephrase, and the Honorable Delegate to rephrase that statement. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. I think when you talk of a diaspora, even those
Madam
who
Speaker,
leave
point of
African
information.
states to go in abroad, in the outside countries, they are part of the team that is in diaspora. So I was beginning with a certain group.
Madam Speaker, point of information.
Let's have Honorable.
All right, actually, Madam Speaker, so if I may rain on the fire that is seizing here, Madam Speaker, I think that Honorable Yusuf is justified in his approach. And I think Honorable Siniga should not stifle the debate, because it does not necessarily resonate with the motion. Because again, there's a downward side to it, and I think it ought to be addressed in the deliberations. So let's have the deliberation across the board, and then we can make a ruling on it. I mean, you can make a ruling on it, Madam Speaker, or we can have a push on it as a House. I think it's prudent.
Thank you, Honorable Hall. So I was talking of we should encourage our African states, our East African community member states, to build the strong and resilient economic avenues. I think I'm done with that one. Then the second issue should be about encouraging the member states to invest much into skilling the young people, skilling the East African people, so that they can have the skills which can be traded within and outside the community. The skills that can attract investors from within and outside. The skills that can enable the young people, the African people, the East African people to open up economic opportunities within and outside the East African community. Then lastly, I think everyone has seen information that has gone viral. We've seen how our people who are in diaspora, some of them, how they are suffering. We need, as East African community, to revise on the laws, to regulate on the laws that enable our people to go outside and work. And this should be between the governments and the other governments. We should implement the available laws against human trafficking, because we've seen other people who go outside in an unlawful way. And the laws are in place. As member states, what are we doing to such laws? What are we doing to implement such laws? And what are we doing to punish the culprits? So this one has to be looked into. But lastly, that's why I agreed with this motion at first. We can connect and work together with the people in diaspora on the ground of benchmarking. Can we support our people who are outside? Can they learn the skills, the tech skills that they can bring, that can feed us who are this side, and we base on these skills to better our economies, to better our community. Therefore, I'm in agreement with this, but there are things I'm sure we have to put into place. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. I insist that we manage time, members. Time management is okay. Yes, Honorable.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. My name is Tusuvira Simon Peter, and I rise to deliberate that I'm not in support of this motion because somehow if we are trying to buy this motion, it's like we are trying to say we need to support more people from Uganda to go in the diaspora and they work so that we have more community growth. The motion is stating, motion for a resolution of the East African Youth Parliament, urging the diaspora's contribution to community growth. Now, I want to start by defining community growth, because community growth means the community is getting more community services, social services, and what are these? Healthcare. The community is getting education, but how do we fund this? From taxation. So it's like we are trying to promote the taxation of people who go outside and maybe bring back some money or something like that. Now, that would mean we are encouraging more to go so that we get more of it and then fund our community, growth here through social services. And then I think that contrary to this, we should be debating how are we going to improve the welfare of the people who are outside there, rather than encouraging more who are here to go. Because what is the issue that is at hand is that people who have already gone are suffering. Most of them are. Anyway, you may argue that some that are in other countries like the West and not the East, the workers in the West may be having some good welfare, but you will know that these people are also facing racism. And I think as a former speaker, the Honorable Welunga Yusuf was arguing that we should just be promoting my words tend to go. But he was trying to say that we should be promoting workers here, that we should be getting jobs for them here, not for them to go outside. Because whatever they are finding there is a problem. Now, if we insist on promoting the contribution of community, the diaspora's contribution in community growth, for me, I think we are promoting more other people to go outside and work. I submit.
Yes, Honorable.
Okay, Honorable Speaker. Thank you for allowing me to contribute little on this motion. I strongly support the motion and about urging the diaspora contribution to the growth, to the community growth. First of all, I would like to refer to the sentiments spoken by previous discussant, previous MP, Member of Parliament. I think allow me, dear MP, Mr. MP, to correct you. You have one, you have a one-sided point of view when it comes to the issue of diaspora. We understand the fact that we have our sisters, our dear sisters, and recently this thing has been actually aired in Kenya. The guys were so loud. You about it. You're talking about, you have that perspective of this group. For me, I call it underprivileged, maybe in terms of knowledge or informed decision, to make informed decision. Those are the people you are referring to are our sisters, who by any means, they have been failed by our systems within our member states. And they're being taken on the advantage to work to the Far East. Get the point? And over there, they face some, unfair wages and income. Let me tell you something, dear MP. When you talk of diaspora, you need also to reflect the part of successful diaspora, I mean people who have gone outside. Because whether you like it or not, people will still go outside. For as long as you obey human rights, your state is abiding to it, people will still move outside. They will look for the betterment of their conditions economically. That's it. So we are looking at tapping on the potentiality of these people who are out. Dear Honorable Speaker, I want to extend my contribution to the point, as I support it, on looking at the aspect of making the diaspora community to contribute to the community growth. I urge member states to prepare the conducive environments for them to invest back, because whether we want or like it, the diaspora community on the other side, which I'm talking, they have got cash. They have got cash, and they have the heart. They are abroad, but they have their heart at Africa, where they are coming from. So we need to look at that. I would love to beg my submission.
Madam Speaker, please, honorable members, please remember to mention your names and the place you're coming from, please.
All right,
I really
all right.
need that.
Honorable Speaker, I'm Adelhelm Odo from Tanzania.
Yes, Honorable.
Yeah, Madam Speaker, I am Layo Daniel Arab Moy. I want to also add my voice to what we are looking at. When we talk about the people in the diaspora, we should be aware that these people are outside there for various reasons. One of them, some of them are people who have taken off for fear of their lives. There are people who have sought political asylum outside Uganda, outside the East African community setup. Some of them, because of their brilliance and all that, they are taken there on merit to work. Some of them, because the conditions here at home is not able to satisfy their interests, and therefore in the need to go and look for greener pastures elsewhere, they are there, and several other reasons. So they are there. They find themselves wherever they are because of different reasons, not only one reason. Therefore, bringing them on board, as the motion is asking us, I think it is going to be very instrumental in the development of our East African community states. Why? Let us look at, maybe I talk about my own country. It is very difficult for Uganda as a country to finance its budget from the locally raised revenue. And normally we resort to borrowing from financial institutions and all that. Now, if these people are having the will, the goodwill to contribute something for the people at home, why should we disallow them? They should be given that opportunity to supplement on the little that we have, and we move to another level. I humbly submit that if we could get that, those kinds of fora, so that we bring them on board, it will be for the development of the East African community. I humbly submit.
Thank you. Yes, Honorable.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Before I proceed, I would like to extend my sincere congratulations to you upon taking up the seat. So, in regards to this motion, Right Honorable Speaker, I think that as a matter of context, we need to understand that even within status quo, the African community in and of itself has invested in all the mechanisms that Honorable Welunga talked about. But even then, nonetheless, we continue to have a gap within status quo. What that means, therefore, is that this motion does not work in exclusion of any other factor. It's not exclusive in and of itself. It is just a supplementary to like sort of quicken the process of development and African growth. The only argumentation like I could buy would be what negative effect would we get anyway from allowing the people from diaspora like participating in our community growth? Because as far as I'm concerned, just because we have allowed them to participate does not preclude us from participating elsewhere, like from implementing any other community growth systems. I submit.
Yes, Honorable.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My name is Melvin. I'm from Tanzania. Well, I strongly accept the motion by saying that there is nothing that is important and that we are lacking as Africa in terms of experience. And the experience which is found from our brothers and sisters who are outside our zone. The fact that they are outside means that they have experienced something that is not usual and which is different from the surroundings that we are used to. Taking an example of China. China is among countries where it has effectively used the role of its diasporas. Wherever you go in this world, I'm sure that you will find the Chinese people. Why? Because they've seen the importance that the diaspora play on the development of China. And thus, it is something that we should, as the East African zone, our countries should look at how we can consider these the people who are living outside the East African zone, or outside even Africa. For example, in Tanzania, there is the special status, which is currently being engineered by the Ministry of the Foreign Affairs. Also, in Kenya, among the things that the current president spoke about and promised was on the matter of the diaspora. Why? Because these are people who, if effectively used, they will bring a more quicker and more faster development to our nations. In terms of knowledge, in terms of investment, these are people who are speaking good of our nations when they're outside. So we highly need them, and we highly need to support them for the development of our region. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable. Honorable members, I urge us to be attentive and pay attention to this, because I see everyone is on phone and everything. Let's pay attention. We contribute to these motions for the common cause. I'm soon closing up this motion. I'm giving us 2 minutes, then I close. Those who want to contribute, you can raise up your hands, but we are closing it very soon. Yes, Honorable.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And allow me to script something, because there's something we need to understand. When we talk of our people in diaspora, you see, right now we have Chinese in Africa. They're performing very well, and they're delivering to their countries both economically and in diverse ways, because they are having support from their country. They are doing their things in Africa because they have the moral support, they have the economic support, and all kinds of support from their government. But the problem we have with Africans, what are we going to look in diaspora, yet the white men are coming to Africa to look for resources? What are we going to look for? Number two, we have had issues of human trafficking. Africans think the only way to be successful or to have a lot of money is you go to Asia, you go to Europe, I don't know the kind of mindset we have, honorable members. Recently, it's only in Kenya, we had an issue, we had some, there's a community called the Maasais. We have, lastly we had the Maasais were hardly hit by the drought. And we had those Maasais who are in diaspora. They contributed food, and food was transported back to the country, and it helped their communities. Those are the kinds of contributions that we need. But you see, we had issues in Saudi Arabia. Our ladies are being raped, our ladies are being tortured, but our governments are silent. What kind of contribution are we saying? Madam Speaker, I oppose this motion, and this motion should not be passed.
Point of information.
Hello?
Honorable members, I think, Madam Speaker, on your behalf, I'll require a few minutes. I think we're taking this the wrong way. We've had elaborate contributions from the honorable members from Tanzania, Honorable Odo and a colleague there, and we've heard what is the impact of diaspora contributing to our community development. And please, I would like to ask to underline this. Community development. Someone here stated about community development. We are trying to look at the positive aspect of diaspora. There are diasporas who have lived in foreign lands for years. Some were even born there, but their blood is here. Yeah, they're still our people. We cannot forget to include them in the development agenda. The world is changing. Globalization is coming through. People are moving around. Yeah, honorable member, let me finish as a mover, I have to allow me to finish my discussion. Let's look at the positive. This bill is looking at the positive impact of diaspora. We understand the challenges, but we are welcoming our people back home by creating conducive environments for them, which I agree. There's more work to be done in creating conducive environments for them to come back home and work. But also, lest we forget that these diasporas also possess skills, possess wealth, possess knowledge, and we can tap into that. If we are trying to compete as an East African region, to compete with other regional blocks and improve our people, we need to also tap into their power. These diaspora people know about security, know about healthcare, know about social and economical perspectives. So we have to look into that too. They know. I wouldn't want to use discriminatory words, and I would beg the member of parliament there who opposes the bill to refrain from using the word white man. Rather than, please, I would beg you to refrain from using such discriminatory words. And Honorable Speaker, please maintain order to this parliament. So honorables can use words that are acceptable. Going back to the topic.
Black, they are white.
Going back to the topic.
Madam Speaker, point
because
of order.
we are being discriminatory. No, honorables, we are being discriminatory. Yes, I understand the perspective of what you're trying to say, but let us address them as who they are. Okay? Because if we were to be called certain names, we would not appreciate it. So let us call them with who they are. And please, our aim here is to discuss about the bill, not look at the negative aspects. We already know the challenges, but as advocates, as champions of change, what solutions are we formulating today? That's the main purpose of this bill. We want to pass something that is tangible. How do we leverage in the power of the diaspora? That's what I'm looking at. Someone who has spent 18 years in the US, someone who has spent 15 years in Europe, how can we leverage their power? What mediums are we giving them to advise us as policymakers, so we create lucrative policies that will favor them and contribute to our community development? Please, honorable members, when we're discussing this, let us look at the positive aspects of diaspora. I think everyone has a cousin somewhere in the world, and they know the contribution of that cousin or some sort of aunt and uncle, right? Yes. Let's look at why our forefathers also went to study abroad, because that's also helped them. If we want to beat the enemy, we have to know the enemy. Yeah. Thank you.
Honorable
Right,
Speaker.
honorable members, we are going to welcome the people who are online, the members who are online, and to give them a chance also to contribute. Remember, we need to keep time as we agreed when we are going to start this session. I'm giving each side a chance. One member from this side, even one member from this side. Hope we agree with that because we are out of time. I'm going to choose we are going to receive honorable member. Who is the other side? Yes, please, you can give in your contribution.
Yeah, thank you. I am Agustino Deng from South Sudan. On the issue of this motion, I also want to say I disagree with it because I want to give an example like for South Sudan, is that we have a number of young people or people in diaspora. But now they are coming back to help the country is to loot the country. When the war erupted, they were the first people to show their dual citizens, and they went to the embassies and they left the country. So to me, I don't see them as important to the development of this region. Thank you.
Honorable Speaker, as the mover of the motion, I request a point of information. In reference of Honorable Deng's contribution, if we are to leave no one behind, yeah, we've ratified, the East African Community has ratified to international treaties such as the SDGs. If we are to leave no one behind, why are we segregating people who are contributing back home? And I know there are challenges, which I firmly accept, which we all know. There are certain challenges that we cannot escape. But this bill is also looking at the positive aspect and positive contribution of the diaspora to the East African region. And please, lest we forget that our aim here is to come up with problem-solving policies that will also impact the acceleration of development in the East African region. Let's look at the positive aspect. Thank you.
Honorable Speaker, point of order. Point of order. Yeah, Honorable, I feel like Honorable Mover is trying to dictate us. So I ask you to talk to him kindly, to give chance to people also to speak their mind. I feel like he's really dictating us.
Thank you. Members, before talking, you need to have a chance, or someone to give you a chance to talk. Don't just pick your microphone and talk from nowhere. Okay? A contribution from Honorable Ferdinand.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. My name is Ferdinand from Burundi, Irangonda Ferdinand. So I strongly support this motion because as African, we need the development. So those who are abroad, they are Africans. They have some contribution to their country. So what I want to speak, our community, EAC, or member states, they can search to implement I can say a program to help the diasporans so that they love their country, and then they invest in their country strongly. When you love something, you must do whatever you want for it. So what I want to say, we must love firstly our country, and wherever we will do it for our country. Thank you.
Members, I want us to agree on time. You're going to forgive me. I'm going to get one member from this side, then we vote. Yes.
Thank you for the chance, Madam. Firstly, I'll start by saying this. In Swahili, we have a saying says, kama unataka kujua mamako au mtu wa kwenu ajua kupika, onja chakula cha nje. Then this is what I want to say here. These people are very important to us. The thing is, we have to teach these people to be patriot. We have to teach our people to be patriot, to love their countries. As in case of Sudan, for instance, they are doing that because they are not patriots. You can't be happy while your people are suffering. You can't be happy to see your country dying. So in this case, first you have to be patriot, but also the government should come with energy to invest in these people, because some people are suffering there out, and people, we think going there is bad because they go there, they don't get support. The government afraid of taking responsibility to these people to make them to educate them, to take care of them and come with good things, because they think maybe it's expensive. For instance, during the war of Ukraine, we see the developed countries, they send flights to take their people. They send things to help them. But our countries, like these African countries, most of them, our people, we communicate with them, they are still there. No one is taking care of them. Oh, they have done to some extent, but not fully. So sometimes other staffs will get negative effects because we are not responsible fully. The other thing is we have to support these people, because once they go there, they come with experience. We come with knowledge. We come with a lot of stuff. We are lacking some in development. Our fellow people, they have make it. They're in another level. So we have to go there to come with positive stuff. But we take it in a negative way, because some of people, they go there, they do some rubbish. They come with only fashion, few less valuable things. So that's why we see it's like it's not a good thing, but it's something good. I want to remind you, during the revolution, industrial revolution, as we read in the history, England, England was the leading country. It was the workshop of the world. But America went there. They took some stuffs, knowledge and the other stuffs, and they come to apply in their countries. So in their country. So now America is the leading country, but they took some knowledge and stuff from England there. So I think I support the
information.
Honorable members, we are closing this motion.
Information.
You know, this motion is debatable. All these motions are debatable. Even if we open it for the whole day, we cannot conclude.
My information only.
We are going to vote. Those.
Point of order. Madam Speaker, point of order. Is it in order for us to suspend a topic that is so essential without exhausting it, like such a topic?
Okay, the mere fact that each and every point is written here, it means all these points are crucial and they need to be discussed. So we cannot give one point or one motion the whole of today, and we leave other motions untackled. So we are going to vote for this motion, then we'll go for other motions, because everything has to be tackled. So,
Madam Speaker, point of information. The House may also adhere to choose to go on with a motion if they choose to discuss. It's also allowed. The House is also allowed to continue a discussion if they're willing. If majority proposes to go through with the discussion. That's just something I wanted to clear.
Thank you.
I think whereas the House preserves the right to sustain debate, the Speaker has the overarching right to overrule and make a ruling on that. So, Madam Speaker, I'd like to kindly remind you that the power lies solely with you.
Thank you so much. So that is why we are going to vote now, right away. Those who oppose the motion, you're going to raise up your hands, and those who support it, then we'll see what is next. Thank you. Those who support the motion? Those who oppose the motion? Eh? Okay. Please, straight. Those who support the motion, the clerk is counting. Raise up your hands straightly. Those who support the motion. Those who support. Those who support the motion, raise up your hands straightly. The clerk is counting. No unnecessary talks, members. Those who oppose the motion? How about those who abstain the motion or those who don't have any side? Yeah, we have 27 members who support the motion. 12 they oppose, and those who abstain, there are 2. So we have to go with the majority.
Honorable Speaker, we are not yet convinced of the motion.
Honorable members, we are going to another motion because we've used democracy, okay? You guys have voted for it. You members have voted. So we are going to the next motion. Hope you're satisfied with the last one. Okay. Motion number 5.
Madam Speaker, point of information before we move. In debate, there's always been a side that's not satisfied. But in our kind of democracy, usually the minorities have the right to have a minority report. So I'd like to advise my brother here to lead the team that will come up with a minority report on this motion, and then can advise the team led by Honorable Siniga, and then we can progress as a House, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Speaker, point of information. I solemnly allow them as opposition to submit their report. We as the movers, we are ready to accept any form of recommendations as long as it entails sustainable development of East African communities through the diaspora. So we warmly welcome your reviews.
Okay, we welcome each and everyone's contribution because we are here for the common cause.
Right, Honorable Speaker, allow me to inform the precurrent speaker that the word opposition itself is ambiguous. Let him use another word because the word opposition is not...
Information.
The motion is closed. Motion number 5. It reads, motion for the resolution of the East African Youth Parliament urging the East African Legislative Assembly to address sustainable investment and innovation for sustainable health in East African pattern states. The move of the motion is Honorable Mary James. You're welcome.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, Honorable Member of the Parliament, and I would like to move the motion which states, motion for resolution of the Eastern African Youth Parliament arguing the East African Legislative Assembly to address sustainable investment and innovation for sustainable health in East Africa partner states.
Thank you. Someone to second this motion?
Thanks, Honorable Speaker and dear members of Parliament. I'm Adelhelm Odo from Tanzania. I'm here to second the motion. And I second it.
Thank you. Now let's receive Honorable Mary James.
Mary James. She has an English name.
My name is Mary James Bugengo, and we agree with the motion. My first point is universal health coverage, where all East African countries can have access to health services from primary health facilities, innovation, when and where they need it. Here, we want to congratulate Rwanda that it has implemented this policy worldwide. Rwanda is... Hello? Okay, thank you. Rwanda is doing good as one of the countries from East Africa that it implements this policy very well. And also we want to congratulate Tanzania that right now it has made this as a bill in the parliament. So we see that if we make a universal health coverage in East Africa, we are going to make the health sector in a good position, and that it can benefit all the citizens. Also, regional integration health system. This will help countries to overcome division that implement the flow of services provision on health. For example, one citizen from Republic of Congo, like now we are here in a meeting, and he comes in Tanzania. We need regional integration that he or she can be given treatments, and in just the same way he could get from his former country, or I can say his national country, that he can be treated. And we need a system to be brought up that the doctor from Republic of Congo can send the information that concerns a patient through internet to Tanzania. So the patient, anywhere he is in East Africa, can still feel safe and feel he is home. Also, we need regional integrated research center of communicable and non-communicable diseases. Here we talk about and we encourage centralization in health system. The East Africa community, we need a centralized place where even if we get attacked by a certain disease, for example, we might have been attacked by Ebola, or we might be attacked by COVID-19. But when we Integration Research Center. It will help much because nowadays we can see we are all one East Africa, but there are some countries can abstain from Ebola while our fellows are dying there. So if we want to grow up and if we want to bring positive results that no one of us will get harmed, when we are all safe, we will all be safe. It's through this one. Another point is every member of East Africa community should increase funds for health services. Since we have wide views on the sectors and we need an increment of the budget annually from the Ministry of Health within the region, coming up with approaches and investment on sustainable health that will boost the health of sector among member states. Example, the FP 2030 agenda, the family planning agenda, of which we are happy that almost all the East African countries have signed up. This will help us, and we can see this shows that we have the commitment in the family planning agreed to have youth-friendly services. This will help a lot, will help youth, that every country in East Africa, we will get the benefit to know about health, let's say sexual health, your normal health, through these friendly services. Also, we'll be adhere to the number 3 UN Sustainable Development Goal that says good health and well-being. Lastly, to implement good health services in East Africa, we need a standardization of culture. We need a standardization of curriculum. Here we speak about, we advocate that health education institution in East African community must prepare all medical personnel in the same standard or qualities, that even if you are a doctor from Kenya, you can come and be employed in Tanzania because you have the same standard and qualities that we are looking for. So this is very important, and we argue the East African legislative that we need to have good institution. And I need to quote the late President Magufuli. He once said that, I dream that Muhimbili as a national hospital of Tanzania should be transformed and reinfrastructured internationally, and that literally able to accommodate sick persons from all around Africa, but in particular the East African community region. So I argue East African leaders that we can. India could do that. Korea could do that. Why not us? We can do something and make the world come to East Africa for good health. Also, we need good standardization of doctors' curriculum, that we say that a doctors all over, when somebody hears that I'm going to meet a doctor from East Africa, we have the same standardization. We treat patients with all the respect and all kind of, we give all good services to our patients. Thank you so much, but I need to say that we need to be driven by a certain goal. I argue my fellow members of this parliament to contribute more on the goal forward, arguing investment and innovation on sustainability in health, because this goal will make us sleepless nights for us to accomplish and carry a debate on the 5th parliament until we make it happen. Thank you so much. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Thank you, my fellow members of parliament.
Thank you, Honorable. I want to encourage online honorables to also contribute or give in their suggestions and contributions. We are going to get members from this side and this side, of course. Honorable Yusuf.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I think those members online are the ones in diaspora. For us, we are the ones in East Africa. So it is hard for them to invest. I think the problem we're talking of anyway. I thank the mover of this motion. And you realize that when she was moving the motion, the whole House was in agreement of this motion. I personally, wholeheartedly am in agreement with this motion. It's unfortunate that Africans will wish to go and get treatment from New York, from China, Australia, German, but it's unfortunate that an American can never wish to have to get treatment from Kenya, to get treatment from Uganda, to get treatment from South Sudan. It's unfortunate. So as we, the young Africans, we need to welcome this motion and debate strongly around this motion. One, I do believe for the community to have the sustainable health in the region, some of these have to be put into consideration. One, it's the time to encourage the member states to reflect, to modify the kind of the education system we have. Let's think of having more practical education system as opposed to theoretical education system we have. It's unfortunate that we produce doctors from all over the universities in East Africa, but we failed to get any country in East Africa to produce for us a vaccine of COVID. Why? Because we've allowed to implement the education system drafted to us by the Westerners, as they don't want us to be practical. So Africans, it's the time to wake up from the sleep we in.
Point of order, Madam Speaker.
Not allowed?
Not allowed.
Thank you. Two, we should encourage the East African member states to intensify when it comes to funding of the health sector. Look, if you look at the budget allocation of Uganda alone of the financial year 2022-2023, the health sector alone was given 3 billion. If you get that money and you divide by the 146 districts we have in Uganda, each district was meant to get 2 million Ugandan shillings. What can 2 million do to improve the health system in a district? If you go to Kenya alone here, the budget allocated for health sector in Kenya was 7 billion of this financial year. If you divide the 7 billion with the 70 districts in Kenya, each one is supposed to get around 82, it's supposed to get 10 million.
Point of order,
Point of order allowed.
Thank you. I want to demystify some lies in your submissions. First, in Kenya, they developed a TIBA vent, which is a ventilator, which is and was used in South Africa. No, I'm trying to tell him what he just said. Second, you can't say we have 7 districts and 7 billion that was used. Please, when giving out statistics and facts, try to say your sources of those statistics.
I think we are not here to attack each other.
I'm trying to correct him.
Madam, I will advise you to go on Google and ask the budget allocation to the Minister of Health of Kenya. You'll get the answer. Please, you have the phone, Google. Thank you. I was submitting that if you look at the budget allocated to health sector in Kenya, if you convert it in dollars, it means every district in Kenya is meant to get $82,000 US. Really, what can this money do? That calls me and others to ask our member states to intensify when it comes to funding of the health sector, Madam Speaker. Also, it's the time the African leaders, East African community member states, to wake up and fight, implement the laws against corruption. A lot of money has been allocated for health systems, but the money ends into people's pocket, and nothing is done to such people. In Uganda, you saw what happened during the COVID. People raised the buildings out of money meant for health, but nothing was done to such. Rather, those people were meant to be promoted and transferred to other sectors. If we don't tackle the issue of corruption, health sector, it will continue to suffer as it is suffering today. Lastly, because I need to give time to other members also to debate, it's the time the African member states, through their ministries of health, to sit down and learn from the experiences of the previous diseases. We've had Ebola in East Africa. This is not the first time to have Ebola, for example. But in my country, where I come from, Uganda, we've experienced Ebola for another time. But I would wish to inform you that since we had Ebola from some good years back, up to date, our Ministry of Health has failed to put in place to get prepared for this disease. And what they are thinking of is lockdown. If we do not sit and learn from the experiences we build to get prepared for the future outbreaks like COVID. I'm telling you, Madam Speaker, if COVID comes back today, East Africans, the only solution we shall have is lockdown. And other countries will think of having in other avenues to address such diseases. So through the ministries of health, they should be empowered to learn from the past experiences, and they come up with strategies to handle such outbreaks once they happen to come back. I welcome this result. This motion. It's good for us. It's the time to end the death of our people. It's the time for us to think of going New York to get a treatment. If we join hands and we take whatever we are talking of, I'm sure Americans will come to Uganda, will come to Tanzania for treatment. Thank you very much, Madam Right Honorable.
Thank you, Honorable. Yes.
Thank you. I'm Agwilton. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me the chance. I support this motion 100%. And I think this is the right time. I ask all the honorable members here to go and advocate for the full implementation of this motion in all the member states. Another thing, I want us also to go and advocate in our countries respectively. We used to see the money that used to be allocated to our leaders in case one of the leaders got sick, how much money used to be given, the budget that used to be given to a leader to travel outside for treatment. So I feel like we should really advocate of maybe a part of giving them that amount, that huge amount of money to go for treatment outside. Let us utilize this money in our respective country and really improve our health systems. And this is a time that we really need to work collectively as East Africans to develop our community and really do much on the health sector. So I really second and support this motion 100%.
Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me the chance to add my voice on this. Madam Speaker, I support this motion 120%. And the issue with African legislators is that we don't know the priorities when it comes to fund allocation. That is the main problem we have. We have been allocating funds on roads, but yet our roads are still in poor conditions. And my honorable colleague, Honorable Yusuf, has just said that the issue here is corruption. We go to IMF banks, we borrow money on the issue of helping our incumbents, but when the money comes to our respective countries, we wonder what happens to those money. It's a high chance. The moment we get the money, the moment we get the source of this money, it is good when we set our priorities. And health sector should be a priority in every country. Because remember, we are advocating for the rights of the weak communities, the weak people who cannot afford that healthcare, the weak man who cannot even afford food, who cannot put food on the table. You see? So, Madam Speaker, I submit that this motion is awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Charity.
Still, my name is Agava Charity. The move of the motion mentioned something that we do not give attention. She said, the late Pombe Magufuli said something. And I think he was trying to tell us that East Africans, we need to solve our problems. through you, Right Honorable Speaker, I request the House that we give in 30 seconds, 10 seconds, and we give respect to this late fellow. May his soul rest in peace. On my submission, it's unfortunate that when we were traveling from Uganda, setting up in a bus, we had to carry painkillers within East Africa, passing through Kenya, coming to Tanzania. That wouldn't be happening if you had centralized and had our good doctors and medical personnel within the East African region. It's unfortunate. When you look in Uganda, we have poor working conditions of the medical personnel. A student doing internship will narrate you a story and you cry. They work 44 hours or 48 hours. That is internship. It's unfortunate in East Africa. Recently, when we had COVID, we had this good doctor from Barara University who innovated some vaccine of COVID. But to tell you, to bring it to your attention, Right Honorable Speaker, and the members in the House, if you go to Mbarara, where the university is, you cannot even find that COVID. And to tell you the truth, this is a political East Africa. COVID is going to come back. If we don't act today, it will come back. There is also this problem of do we have good policies and laws that should guide doctors when they are working? Because of the poor working conditions, if I bribed a doctor, gave him money to pass on my interest, then quickly he would quickly accept and take the money, killing the life of someone. We have people, very many people being infected with HIV/AIDS and such circumstances. Also, the move of the motion mentioned something to do with creating regional research centers. I would wish that in creating those regional research centers, while referring to the great philosophers and innovators, we look at the people from the East African region. Let's not bring Chinese into this thing. Let's start from here. We have the resources. They get our trees, our leaves, and go and produce a medication for us and bring it and sell it to us at high costs. Oh, young people, we need to act. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Odo.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Allow me to come at the podium.
Order, Madam.
Yes, please.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would request that please you balance the House, because you're choosing from one side, yet this side also they want to speak. Thank you so much.
The next members keep heart, take heart.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members of Parliament, I'm so glad to have this opportunity and this space to whisper, to at least whisper you something, and probably it can change some sort of your, how you perceive health in general. I know you have you have that general perception which is so good and all that, but I want to add up. I'm not criticizing. So I'll start with the anecdote which I have, and I'm paying a tribute to my late friend who is a victim of a poor health system. My friend is called Daniel in Jeremiah. And I'm giving you this testimony because I'm working at one of the national hospitals here as the system manager, right in Dodoma. So I was around corridors of the hospital, Benjamin Mkapa Hospital. That's when I met this guy. He was so weak, twitching, tittering, almost falling down. So when I decided to hold his shoulder and ask what's wrong. So Daniel just simply talked to me, brother, I'm dying. This is a true story. It happened on 11th April. So I took Daniel and I dragged him. I took to EMD, Emergency Department, for those who don't know the meaning of EMD. And I continued whereby he was taken care of, but I continued to follow him up. Now, what was Daniel suffering from? Daniel was suffering from what we call CKD. It's a technical term in medical, and I hope we're all going to get along with it. CKD is a chronic kidney disease. It's actually caused by kidney injury. It has stages, whereby first it starts by being acute. Acute means it's not that, in a late stage, it's early stage. So now Daniel was suffering from CKD, chronic one, of which if you're suffering from chronic kidney disease, you have to undergo, the situation is the kidney fails to filter the blood. As we all know, the function of kidney, to filter the blood, poisons and everything, which is related to poison. So obviously you have to go for what we call medical procedures, a medical operation called hemodialysis. And hemodialysis is simply as filter machine which is responsible for filtering blood. So hemodialysis, now I'm coming to the hemodialysis. Daniel was not under health insurance coverage, so he had to pay cash, and such kind of procedure is very expensive, not only in Tanzania but among all member states according to my research, although I did it on observation. Here in Tanzania and East African states, approximately, not approximate, but this is real, a patient of CKD has to go for 3 sessions per week, and in a week he has to pay $300 for hemodialysis. And per month is going to make to pay a sum of when you try to multiply by 4, it's 1,200 US dollars. I'll put in that currency because we all understand that. So you can just imagine for a normal person living with the CKD. This is not exemptional disease. Let me tell you, it's here, it's living, it's here, and it's here to stay. According to the stories from the social workers, they say in next 8 years, on every 50 people, 1 must be having a CKD, at least CKD, which is progressing to, acute kidney injury, which is going to progress on chronic kidney disease. And amongst us here, this kind of a disease is one of the diseases that is distressing. Many had devastated many families economically. People have to sell farms. People have to sell properties. So I met Daniel again when he's from EMD department, 2 weeks. He appealed to me, brother, I don't have anything. I'll have to go for dialysis again. And remember, I'm using a cash. I was like, boy, I can't afford even paying for a single session. And I was in the mid of my month. And you know the mid of the month, salary is down. So I only had 3K. As we all know, there is a meme. ENTs, it's called, at least you have a 3K. So I had 3K, I had to give 2 shilling. I have to give it to him. He just took it. And he roamed around trying to seek for support, but Daniel had no support. He actually went home without doing hemodialysis, and if you don't do the hemodialysis, the poison accumulate and piles up, and you start suffocating, and you see everything is, So he went home, but he has to at least go for 3 sessions. So he jumped to 2 sessions already, the second session or the third. What Daniel did, he fell into the hands, I can say, with evil intention. People, not really, but because of the system how it is. I'm not criticizing the system, no, but how the reality is. He had to be scammed, not scammed, but he had to be deluded to fall into the hands of the guys who sell health insurance, NHF cards. With the guys of that he's married to a certain lady who is a government worker. So he succeeded to get that card, and he went through dialysis because the NHF covers it. He went through it, but he was so happy that we could make several antics in a month. After that, he was caught up as a culprit. Trying to, with the fraudulence related to NHIF services. So he had to hand over the card, and the case right now still it's at the court. But now in April, the guy lost hope. He came back to me that I need help. I said, man, what we can do is to take you for fundraising. Now, when I was trying to organize a fundraising campaign on social media, the guy passed away. And the last message which I have on the phone, he said, brother, I've been calling you, I've been texting you, but you didn't reply. You won't see me disturbing you again. That's the only text which he sent to me. That is Daniel Njirimoy. What I'm trying to say is there are so many Daniels Njirimoys around us, and there are going to be many among here, because as we age, you know, the whole body systems collapse, as we know, and we are going to be the victims if we don't fix the problems related to this. Now, my point is this is what we call universal health coverage. This will be one of the systems. This is the agenda that WHO has taken it forward. This agenda was first introduced by von Bismarck by the time he was a chancellor in Germany. It also relates to the health insurance for all citizens. Universal health coverage, simply by definition, it is universal health coverage, of which the previous, my mover, had talked a bit about it. Universal health coverage, by definition, it entails that all people should have access to the health services they need when and where they are, without financial hardship. So you see now Daniel Wanjiri, if he would be alive by this time, whereby our government actually is doing something right to implement universal health coverage in TZ, I think he wouldn't be a victim. I urge all member states to look at this and to take it serious. I would love to congratulate Rwanda for trying hard on this. They've been doing good in health. Tanzania were along the way. I don't know about Uganda and DRC together with Uganda. I don't have that data. The full range of services which have to be considered under universal health coverage, they actually range on prevention, treatment, rehabilitation, and palliative care. Palliative care. We are all going to fall under this. What is palliative care? Palliative care, we say palliative care is the specialized medical care for those living with dangerous chronic diseases. We're all going to age, and for some of us we're going to catch this kind of diseases along the way as we are aging. So we are going to fall under palliative care. So if we don't innovate, we don't invest, and we don't advocate, who is going to do this? We're already the victims. So I call upon member states to act upon universal health coverage. To make it short, I have a lot of things to talk about. I don't want to exploit other members' contribution.
Manage your time, Honorable. Manage your time.
Okay. Allow me to, just 1 minute, please. So what I was saying is, if somebody of chronic diseases, how is it treated? It's treated by what we call transplant, kidney transplant. Fortunately, in East Africa, particularly Tanzania, we are actually offering such a service at Benjamin Mkapa Hospital. I wouldn't like to sell the name of my hospital, but we are doing it successfully with the locals. That's the initiative which I would love to congratulate my government. So this transplant, however, it has a lot of costs. It goes up to the figures 1.8K up to $13K. 8.5K to $13. It is 30K up to 43K USD dollars if it is done in India. That's because that's where we learn. We run when it comes to the issue of treatment. We resort to. But with this investment which the government has done in TZ, particularly in my hospital, it is being done by the cost of 8.5 to 13K. For 13 to 13K thousand dollars. 8.5 to 13K thousand. That's it. But again, we have what we call, after having transplant, we have what we call treatment after transplant. You have to suppress the immunity because you have already introduced an organ which was not there. So of course it can be attacked. There's what we call immunosuppressants. These are the medications a person of
Honorable
CKD
member,
undergoes.
your time is out.
Okay.
Please conclude. 2 seconds.
Okay, so this all involves a cost of 900,000. We have there, where I work, we have 2 people who have done it successfully, but they are all facing these kind of expenses. Now we urge member states to look at this, to invest into this service of hemodialysis with other non-communicable diseases control again. We have 5 of them, and they're taking people serious. We have hypertension and cardiovascular disease, which is the leading disease. Even if you Google right now, you'll find that. We need, we have diabetes, we have respiratory disease
I
and
beg
cancer.
that you stop from there. Thank you so much for your contributions.
All right, thank you.
Yes,
Thank you,
Honorable.
thank you.
And I want to urge the people that are online, the honorables, to submit their contributions. Sorry.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker and all members. I want to thank the mover of this motion for bringing before this House a very beautiful motion. But we have critical issues that we need to ask ourselves, because at a time like this, we needed to have had this motion. Actually, we needed to have had a policy that entails everything that is being talked about in this motion. You'll ask yourself, what is East Africa's agenda? What are East African institutions having as their priorities? What are the priorities of East African governments and heads of states? A member raised a question and said that are our priorities straight? It seems like African governments do not know what their priorities are. I do not seem to agree with that fact. We have a problem of leadership, which is a crisis across the continent, which is a crisis across the region. We have leaders in place who do not take issues which are pertinent, issues of life, as something very important. We have leaders in place who consider having position of power, political power actually, as something more important than health. Because if so, we would have not had a discussion of universal health coverage at such a time, because it's such a critical component of development that we should have not talked a bit about it now. We're actually very late to move towards achieving a universal health coverage. Now we'll ask ourselves, how do we redefine our goals? How do we redefine our objectives as East Africa, as Africa, as individual partner states? Because if we do not have a system that is workable, whatever we are talking about here is all rubbish. How do we strengthen our institutions? Because at the end of the day, it goes back to our institutions. We have very good policies, we have very good proposals by their own paper in Africa. But the question is, how do we address issues of enforcement and implementation? Still is a problem. Somebody was here talking about questions of accountability and corruption. You witnessed what has happened during COVID time. But what has been done? But don't we have policies against people who steal our funds, which are meant for health, for individual gains? We have these policies in place, but what is being done? We need to strengthen our systems. We need to strengthen our institutions and make them workable. If there is an office of the Inspectorate of Government, what do they do and how much have they done? And how much have we as citizens held them accountable? We have young people who come for discussions of this nature, and then they go back to their home governments and sit. The accountability question is lacking in our states. East Africa's problem is now not about having a universal health coverage, but we have weak institutions. And all this is resting on the quality of our leadership. We have a leadership crisis which needs to be addressed. And as young people, I implore you in this house that let us take it upon ourselves to question the issue of accountability so that the implementation of our laws are very effective. So that if our institutions are not doing the work they are supposed to do, we have young people who are vibrant, will stand up and question those people. I think that way we can have something that is tangible. I don't agree with the idea of having a very beautiful policy on paper. The East African Legislative Assembly can actually buy this idea. I only have an issue on enforcement. I only have an issue on implementation. Are our priorities straight? If our priorities are still about protecting power, it's still about enriching ourselves as leaders in political offices, we are not going to pay adequate attention to this issue, which is actually very urgent. Because if we address the issue of restructuring our institutions, we are going to go further and address the issue of educational institutions. We are going to go further and restructure our education system to boost the demand. But if that is not done, all that becomes a wild goose chase. I heard of the East African Research Bureau, or the East African Research Institute. This is an example of a dysfunctional bureau and institute, if at all we have it.
Honorable Member, I beg you manage your time. 1 minute.
Thank you. So, we need to have functional institutions. We need to have better enforcement of our policies. I don't want to say, let us legislate policies which are going to favor universal health coverage and stuff like that. We need to look at how do we enforce. So my question is on enforcement. My question is on issues of budgetary allocations, setting priorities and defining our goals so that we move. Otherwise, the question is not only about health, it rests entirely on the quality of our leadership. There is a leadership crisis which needs an address in East Africa. I thank
Point
you.
of information.
No, not allowed. I beg people that are online to submit in their contributions.
Point of order. Point of order.
Right, Honorable Speaker, if the people online are not there, I suggest we continue with those that are inside here. Thank you.
Point of order.
Madam Speaker, can I make a contribution?
Point of order, please.
Those working on the online team, please try to raise his voice. Pascal?
Yes. I think I'm audible enough. Well, when I'm contributing on the ongoing discussion, I think as an East African country, the member state which make up the union, it is much better when we as now the youth who are now discussing the matter on our parliament, we come up with a litigations. And when we come up with the litigation, we forward them to our able member of parliament. So it's upon them to ensure that these things are passed to the latter. And how are we going to do that? Because it's not the first time we are going to make this kind of paperwork. But as youth now who have passed this thing, let us come up with a process that is going to enable us to do a follow-up. Maybe a team, maybe a committee, who can ensure that our representative in the IALA are doing this thing to the latter. Because when you talk about the health coverage, specifically for Eastern Africa, I think we stand a better chance because we have resources. And sometimes resources exist in, let's say, in an inertia state, but they need to be implemented. Like we have CDC, and CDC is mostly commonly concerned with the disease research. What if as Eastern Africa we have our own CDC and ensure that they do what is required of them? and universal education. So how do we come up with a proportion of how doctors, like a doctor from Rwanda, a doctor from Kenya, a doctor from Sudan, a doctor from Southern Sudan, a doctor from Burundi, a doctor from Tanzania can do university transfer. They get trained at the same time. So also we can have our best doctors. So like typically a doctor from Kenyatta can typically travel to Busoga and attend to a patient the same. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now we are welcoming Honorable.
Honorable Speaker, can I
Thank
make
you,
my contribution?
Honorable Speaker. Good afternoon, honorable members of the East African Youth Parliament. I'm called Mary, and I'm from South Sudan. So I would like to talk about the issue of the education system. I know people have talked about it, but I do not think we realize how bad this is. So I'm from South Sudan, and I would like to give you guys a short story about what happened to me in 2015. So I studied in Uganda, and when I completed my national exams there, I went to South Sudan to also sit for the national exams in South Sudan.
Yes, Honorable
that is the
Speaker.
senior 4 over there. So I was surprised when the timetable was out and there's
I'd like
no
to make my contribution
practical
if I'm,
exam on the
if I can
timetable.
be
So
heard.
as we sit here and speak today, South Sudan does not have practical exams in high school. So these are people who are going to go and join medical school, but they've never seen a biology laboratory, they've never dissected a rat, they've never seen a physics lab. So I think we need to look at such things. These are just basics, but some countries in the East African community have not put any policies in place to work on this. And this is the most corrupt country in the world as we speak. So I believe something needs to be done in South Sudan, clearly. I know something needs to be done in all the countries, but I'm putting emphasis on South Sudan because things are really bad over there. So I urge each and everyone here, especially my team from South Sudan, let's go back and be ambassadors of this. Let's make sure something is put in place. And
Madam Speaker.
yeah, so I think it's just our collective responsibility to ensure that new systems are put in place and the old systems are put behind us, okay? We need new systems that are going to benefit all citizens of the East African community. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We are getting him then and you, Honorable. We cross the topic, yes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I will, first of all, I strongly support, and I would like to add some few things. The first is we call upon the harmonization of pharmaceutical procedures, quality assurance, and registration and production, procurement and distribution of affordable medication as priorities by member states. As a result, this will help to tackle pharmaceutical shortages for our people in our region. A guaranteed extension of the EAC pharmaceutical business plan through the involvement of both the governments, civil societies, and pharmaceutical companies as technical advisors so as to ensure regulation of pharmaceutical markets in the region. The second thing that I have is we also like to call upon more investment upon research and support of local health technological startups and technologies among member states which tackle challenges of health in the EAC. We have a lot of creative minds in our region, so it is the duty now of the East Africa to locate them and support and see how to support them and nurture them so that they can persevere with their innovations. For example, well, in Tanzania, we have the M-Mama, which is a mobile technology to connect pregnant women to care and working to reduce rates of maternal in the rural regions in Africa. Thank you very much. Submit.
Yes, it's welcome.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, honorable members.
I would like to say that, most of the members have mentioned some good points, and they're okay. But then I'm just going to go directly to what I feel we South Sudanese urgently need in terms of health. The reason as why people fall sick most times is some of these reasons come from what we consume. And and South Sudan, where we get our food mostly from, we have two borders that are too busy. We have our border with Uganda, and we have our border with Kenya. But the most busiest border is our border with Uganda. So we have realized that some of the food items that are being transported, into South Sudan, some of these food are not healthy. In fact, others already expired, and we consume expired food. And as a result, we fall sick. And already with the weak health system that we are already talking about, we are really at a high risk, of dying. Because also the common people do not have the money to travel for treatments. The way you mentioned in New York, also our people would go to New York, the leaders for treatment. So I would want to urge that the member states, really this bill should ensure that we have, we have these machines, that test, that test these products such that the expired ones, can really not enter our country. And also the exporters, you need to have humility. It is not really good for you only to think about money. Transport expired stuff into our country. We buy it just because you need the money, and you're not concerned of our health. I think member states should take this serious. And the other thing is also this about food. Also in drugs, medicine. We also have, in fact, our country is like a dumping ground. All the expired drugs, and medicine are dumped in South Sudan. Just because I think the testing machines we are not having. So we are arguing that this bill, really prioritizes, testing machines for medicine along all the borders, and more especially the borders, of South Sudan and other neighboring countries, such that we avoid the issues, of consuming expired, drugs, because these are really the causes as why most of our people get complicated sicknesses, and because of the poor health system that we have, we die off. As the neighboring countries, business people are making their money at the expense of our life, which is not good. The other thing that I would want to say is that some of the health crisis that we have in our country is related to, to the oil producing, to oil producing. Some of the countries in East Africa may not have that experience, maybe because they are still planning to drill their oil, and maybe others are still discovering. But for us, we have been drilling oil, for so many years. And in the oil fields, we have a part where the oil companies, neglect. In fact, they operate poorly, and some of the oil, is spilled, and with this flooding, it carries, those wastes into the main river. And also to be very clear, in most of these parts, our people consume the waters of River Nile. We are not consuming these piped waters, in those areas. And once this waste from the oil producing companies enter into the river, it means that our people consume them. And as a result, we get health complications. We have our women giving birth, to abnormal children. So it's also on this point that I urge all the member states to really also have a provision that all producing companies that are operating in the member states, any disease that arises in relation to the oil production, they should be held accountable and also contribute, in ensuring that the citizens of the particular area where they're operating, they really get the health services they need. The other thing that I would want to talk about is about the issue of the welfare of the health workers. Our colleagues have talked about it. One of these is that if they are not taken care of well, they will divert. In our country like South Sudan, we have seen that the public hospitals, they can be funded maybe. They have the drugs in the public hospital. But because of the poor conditions, living conditions and low salaries, they decide to, divert these drugs into their private clinics. You see, so funding this health sector alone and then not take into consideration the welfare of the health workers, it still will not make an impact. Their welfare should be taken care of such that what is for the public hospital remains for the public, and then what is for the private health clinics remain there. Otherwise, we shall be having money being poured in the health sector, in the public hospitals, and then it is being diverted into the private clinics just to sustain the lives of the health workers. Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker and Honorable
Thank
Members
you
of
so
Parliament.
much, Honorable. We are going to receive Honorable. He or she is online. Then now we vote. Okay. I beg that we continue. Yes.
I just have some information, and I wish it is pertinent to share with honorable members, Right Honorable Speaker. Honorable members, allow me to inform you that as of today, 15th of November 2022, the world population has increased to 80 billion. And when it comes to Africa, the whole Africa, we are 478,188,361. That means that the life expectancy of people in America is around, the males is around 71 and the female is around 75. But when it comes to East Africa, the life expectancy of males is around 64 and the life expectancy of females is around 68. If you get the other global life expectancy and you subtract from the life expectancy of East Africans, we are less than 7 years per the category of people I've talked of. That one necessitates the need for us to welcome and accept this bill. Thank you. I just want to give you that information.
Thank you for your information. Honorable members, I'm going to get only one person because we are running out of time. Then now we vote. Yes. Use 2 minutes.
Thank you. Mkaneza Angelique from Rwanda. I just want to receive a congrats that they have been giving us as Rwanda. We are trying to implement some rules. I was been here since morning hearing the motions they were talking. I really say that we are trying as Rwandan country. Thank you.
Okay, last one.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My submission is all about, I want to bring the House attention that even though this happens, as long as our mindset is really not changed, nothing will happen. Now, take an example. This happens, the coverage is really granted, is given, but you'll find that someone will tell you, I cannot be treated in Uganda, I cannot be treated in Tanzania unless I go to India, just because they know India is the only goal that can make it all. So I want to call upon this House that let us first change our mindset before we call for the universal healthy coverage. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Honorable members, thanks for your contributions. And now we are going to take in the motion. Those who support it and those who don't support it. So we are voting. Those who support the motion, you raise up your hand straightly. We have started. Those who oppose it? Wow, this is good. Eh? Yeah. Sorry. Those who abstain the motion, do we have any? No, thank you. There are 55 minutes past 1, and I would like us to, I'm going to suspend the parliament, and we are going to come back after 30 minutes.
Hello, my name is Paul Peter Siniga from Tanzania. I am Speaker of the 4th East African Youth Parliament, running from the year 2021 to 2022. The East African Youth Parliament has opened many doors for my career as an individual young person from the East African community. It has nurtured me and shaped me as a young leader to engage with high-level policymakers within my region and advise them on youth issues. It's been an opportunity of a lifetime whereby I get to explore my leadership skills and be of better service to the East African region in the voice and representation of young people of the East African region. During my parliament, we discussed a number of motions ranging from post-COVID resilience to universal health care, employment opportunities for young people, and so forth. Some of these motions during my tenure have gone on to be implemented by different governments, such as the government of Uganda that is upholding youth participation in democratic spaces, the government of Tanzania that is advocating and championing the implementation of universal healthcare coverage within the Tanzania, and also participation of young people in economic opportunities and trade in Kenya. We've had audiences and engagements with civil society, government institutions, development partners and diplomatic corps, all in the essence of advising them about young people and youth affairs. One of the key highlights that I've managed to achieve from a local content in Tanzania was having an audience with our speaker, Dr. Tulia Ackson, where we advised her on a few issues that encompass young people within Tanzania. But also some of our members of parliament within the space have gone to be part of these high-level policy-making forums that have advised governments on youth issues. In terms of economic issues, the East African Youth Parliament has furthered the integration and interaction of young people within the East African community to spearhead movements and trade of young people within the East African community. Economically, East Africa as one region bears a vast opportunity, an array of opportunities for young people, be it trade, be it cultural expression, be it joint participation in different programs, be it in the development agenda. We've seen the economic opportunities that the East African community provides to young people. Therefore, it was our mission as members of the East African Youth Parliament to contribute highly and talk to our government leaders and policymakers to uphold their treaty of East African, to contribute more to the development of young people. In the social space, the East African Youth Parliament has been a safe space for us as young leaders and activists to work together, to come together, unified, to address the challenges within our community. The East African Youth Parliament is a safe space for young people to come together and address the challenges of the regions, find solutions, but also be key players in the decision-making processes by engaging with high-level stakeholders from the East African governments. So as a young person, when you get a chance to be part of the East African Youth Parliament 2022-2023, do not take it lightly. Show us what you've got, your skills, your talent, your vision, your activism, your advocacy, and things that you believe in to make East Africa community better. Hello, my name is Paul Peter Siniga from Tanzania. I am Speaker of the 4th East African Youth Parliament, running from the year 2021 to 2022. The East African Youth Parliament has opened many doors for my career as an individual young person from the East African community. It has nurtured me and shaped me as a young leader to engage with high-level policymakers within my region and advise them on youth issues. It's been an opportunity of a lifetime whereby I get to explore my leadership skills and be of better service to the East African region in the voice and representation of young people of the East African region. During my parliament, we discussed a number of motions ranging from post-COVID resilience to universal health care, employment opportunities for young people, and so forth. Some of these motions during my tenure have gone on to be implemented by different governments, such as the government of Uganda that is upholding youth participation in democratic spaces, the government of Tanzania that is advocating and championing the implementation of universal health care coverage within the Tanzania, and also participation of young people in economic opportunities and trade in Kenya. We've had audiences and engagements with civil society, government institutions, development partners and diplomatic corps, all in the essence of advising them about young people and youth affairs. One of the key highlights that I've managed to achieve from a local content in Tanzania was having an audience with our speaker, Dr. Tulia Ackson, where we advised her on a few issues that encompass young people within Tanzania. But also some of our members of parliament within the space have gone to be part of these high-level policy-making forums that have advised governments on youth issues. In terms of economic issues, the East African Youth Parliament has furthered the integration and interaction of young people within the East African community to spearhead movements and trade of young people within the East African community. Economically, East Africa as one region bears a vast opportunity, an array of opportunities for young people, be it trade, be it cultural expression, be it joint participation in different programs, be it in the development agenda. We've seen the economic opportunities that the East African community provides to young people. Therefore, it was our mission as members of the East African Youth Parliament to contribute highly and talk to our government leaders and policymakers to uphold their treaty of East African, to contribute more to the development of young people. In the social space, the East African Youth Parliament has been a safe space for us as young leaders and activists to work together, to come together, unified, to address the challenges within our community. The East African Youth Parliament is a safe space for young people to come together and address the challenges of the regions, find solutions, but also be key players in the decision-making processes by engaging with high-level stakeholders from the East African governments. So as a young person, when you get a chance to be part of the East African Youth Parliament 2022-2023, do not take it lightly. Show us what you've got, your skills, your talent, your vision, your activism, your advocacy, and things that you believe in to make East Africa community better. Hello, my name is Paul Peter Siniga from Tanzania. I am Speaker of the 4th East African Youth Parliament, running from the year 2021 to 2022. The East African Youth Parliament has opened many doors for my career as an individual young person from the East African community. It has nurtured me and shaped me as a young leader to engage with high-level policymakers within my region and advise them on youth issues. It's been an opportunity of a lifetime whereby I get to explore my leadership skills and be of better service to the East African region in the voice and representation of young people of the East African region. During my parliament, we discussed a number of motions ranging from post-COVID resilience to universal health care, employment opportunities for young people, and so forth. Some of these motions during my tenure have gone on to be implemented by different governments, such as the government of Uganda that is upholding youth participation in democratic spaces, the government of Tanzania that is advocating and championing the implementation of universal health care coverage within the Tanzania, and also participation of young people in economic opportunities and trade in Kenya.